Hello there, and welcome back to Midlife Rises. I'm Cheryl. I had done the taping here, and the lighting was gorgeous. The problem was I didn't check the volume, so I had to do it over because you couldn't hear me. I went to visit my mother's site again, and when I do that, it always takes a little out of me because reality just hits. But I'm hanging in there. I've been going over a lot of stuff under emotions, controlling emotions. Last week we talked about, just being aware, having self-awareness so that you can work on controlling these emotions. Well, this week I'd like to talk to you about maintaining the fruit of the Spirit. So don't go away. It's so gorgeous out here. Earlier in the day, I seemed to be overdressed, but now it's like really nippy. Like I said before, you can feel it coming in. We'll have to go back inside after a while, but it is what it is, right? So fruit of the Spirit is feeling joy, happiness, having empathy, patience, just being happy within yourself. And how do you do that? How do you maintain that disposition when you have so many negative things going on? Well, there has to be some balance, right? You've got to look at the good. You've got to kind of look at both and try to balance it. But one of the reasons why you have to try and maintain the fruit of the Spirit is because you get that peace. You have to fight for that peace. In midlife years, it is very easy to become angry and bitter, again, because of all the different mishaps that we go through. And then we have the self-talk, which kind of adds to the pie. I try to maintain the fruit of the Spirit, and let me tell you, you would never want to be in my shoes for some of the things that I go through and some of the things that I deliberately put myself through so that I can have the experience. And as I said before, it's not comfortable. And you've got to be willing to put in the work. You've got to be willing to, to get out of your comfort zone. Because when you do that, it matches up your faith with whatever you have going on, and then Spirit jumps in. I try not to go too overboard with religion. I consider myself to be spiritual, but you've got to have that. You've got to have that feeling. You've got to know that there is something bigger that's watching over things. And so when you have that in mind, when you have that awareness, and you fight for your peace and your tranquility and being sensitive to others, that sort of thing, then that faith that I'm talking about, because we said that faith is believing in something that you're not seeing, which is how I live my life. I know that I don't fully control things. I know that when I do the right thing, good things will happen to me. And what happens after a while when you make that connection with the divine, the universe, whatever you want to call it, you've got to be conscious of the things that you do. You've got to be in tune with what's wrong and what's right. So we're talking morals, we're talking about integrity, all of these things, because that's how your character will develop. What do you do when you're not being watched? Do you go the route in doing the right thing? You've got to be careful with that. You've got to be very careful with these things. Consciousness, that is key. For me, I spend a lot of me time. I do a lot by myself because I feel like you have to understand who you are. You have to know who you are within your skin. I usually say as an individual, but I'm tired of hearing myself say that, so I'm kind of switching it up. But you have to know who you are and what you stand for. And when that is in place, then you can try to start building on all of the other stuff, because it is not easy. We have a lot that happened to us. We have a lot that we go through before we get to these midlife years, our childhood, what kind of traumas we had. I think that once you're in tune with how you're feeling, and your drive has to be to run for that peace, to fight, to maintain that peace, that fruit of the Spirit. Because when you do that, whatever happens, you bounce back. Anger, once you're walking around with that in your heart, it's very easy for the enemy to jump in. And this is closed off because of all of the experiences, the negative ones. Then your emotion kicks in, and the negative emotions, that is. And then it's a free for all with the enemy, because then, your steps, he starts controlling. And if you're not aware, then you will be into some other stuff, trying to hurt others. They always say misery likes company. I deal with I don't want to say demons, but I deal with my experiences, and I try to embrace them. And when you have that outlook, you normally weaken things, and they don't get to enter, this area. I like my peace. I know what peace is from years back. I have a disposition that gets me in trouble a lot of times because I seem happy, too happy, and that pisses people off. It is my persona. I can't change who I am and how I carry myself. But the point I'm making here is everyone has to understand what brings their peace and work towards that. When you have that tranquility, that joy from within, you get to flourish. Whatever happens, it's like, there was this movie I watched one time. They were trying to train the young lady how to handle life. And one of the lines was, I never mind the little things. And I think that's how we have to just kind of go through this thing, try to find your happiness and be firm on that regardless of what's going on around you. And when you carry yourself in that way, you'll find that things just, it just works itself out, because we are not controlling things. That's why we have to be extra careful how we live our lives and the way we treat others. Okay? Check us out at midliferisis.com. I am going to stop and start bringing that thing up to date. It's been a lot going on. My summer was crazy. But I don't ever try to look at my glass half empty. I look at it half full, and that's my outlook. Do subscribe to the channel by clicking on that bell icon. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Okay? You take care.